So, welcome back to the Liberal Arts Seminar, Managing Culture. And this week, we're talking about tips for success with China, Guangxi, the art of war, new ventures going forward. The presentation topics are here. This is the PPT that we're going through. Everybody should be aware of when we're talking about managing in China, it's not only the country of China, it's globally. And why am I starting to talk about China? Because China has one of the oldest, most original strategies for managing internationally. Our class is talking about managing culture. And in the 6th century BC, there was a famous person called Sun Tzu. He created a list of 13 different rules, 13 different strategies in order to be successful with your actions. And they started using these 13 strategies for war. So it's the art of war. But we've been studying this so much, you can see there's many people teaching these details. And so we have PPTs that are talking about some of these details. This is teaching about management with the Chinese from the Open University, which is good. And here is another article talking about, you should be able to, maybe you guys can't see me yet. Let me try to share my screen. If you can't hear me, you make sure, if you can't see what I'm talking about, ask questions. Don't just follow blindly. So again, this is the PPT that we're talking about this week, talking about managing in China, managing globally, the idea of management, the idea of Guangxi, and the idea of the art of war. Art of war is what we talk about because this art, these rules for how to manage globally, was created first, 6th century BC, before Christ, more than 2,500 years ago. So we're looking at that. It applies to war and applies to business. And so here is a video talking about how you can manage with Chinese. This is from the Open University of Hong Kong. Hopefully, good students know that I have been teaching this topic also. If you find my class videos online talking about this and share this with class, hopefully you trust me and you think my information's reliable, or you can find some Scopus Journal articles and share that, which is definitely reliable information, and I will pay you. I'll give you extra bonus points for that. So other than that, we're moving on. So this week, I am teaching a few things. The idea of managing globally. I'm talking about Chinese management. Most people think of Chinese management, they think of Guangxi. That's the most popular Chinese management detail. But even more powerful than Guangxi is the art of war. And so I'm going to be teaching that today because it's not just for China. It helps everywhere in the world. And so I'd like to start. And Yi Dayong, since you were good, can you pick one of your classmates? Pick any classmate and tell your classmate to start reading my screen.
Song Ji-hyun.
Great.
Where should I start reading?
Whatever you can see on the screen.
Art of War. Art of War is Chinese strategy. Military strategies useful in all management by General
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu in the 6th century BC.
Yes. So that is what, 2,600 years ago or more than that. So the original strategy for success, for management. That's what we're talking about. And can I get another volunteer to read more? I'm giving Chun Bo-yun. Are you taking a picture of me? or are you doing a selfie of yourself? I love that you have your video on. That's good. But I don't know. Are you putting your hand up because you want to read next? or would you like to pick one of your classmates? Any volunteers to keep reading? The people that try more and get more experience will be more successful. So
Professor, can I read about this?
yes, just go ahead and start doing it. Don't ask my permission. Just tell me to shut up, old man, and start talking.
Okay. And start now.
Yes.
Yeah. Art of War is Chinese strategies. Military strategies useful in all management by General Sun Tzu in 6th century BC. 30 chapters, each devoted to one aspect of warfare. The art of war is one of the oldest and most successful strategies, heavily influencing military business tactics and beyond. And it's the first thing to learn to manage globally.
Awesome. Do you want to keep reading, or do you want to pick a classmate?
Okay, I'm just keep reading.
Great.
Since you recognizing the importance of positioning in strategy and that position is affected both by objective condition in the physical environment and the subjective opinions of competitive actors in the environment, he thought that strategist was not planning in the sense of working to the list, but rather that it requires quick and appropriate responses to change conditions. Planning works in a controlled environment, but in a competitive environment, competing plans call it creating unexpected situations.
Awesome.
Finish. Thank
So,
you.
This is super famous. There's hundreds of YouTube videos talking about it. CNN, this is the History Channel talking about it. What is the art of war? It might be a little bit difficult for you to read this, so I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. It says at the beginning, if the instructions are not clear and the commands are not explicit, it is my fault. It is the commander's fault. Well, even though you guys are the boss, you've hired me to manage this class. And so if there's anything you don't understand, it's my fault. That's why I have got many students to go through and read the requirements. These are the requirements that you have to do. And so I've tried to make sure details are clear. And if there's any questions about that, please ask anytime. Is this what I promote all the time? No. What I promote personally, not just about the Chinese management, is what you're looking at here. And so I'll blow this up since this is my personal lesson for every student forever. The idea of you are a student, and we keep going through it. Can I get somebody to try to explain what is the top left box saying? Any volunteers? The circle, red circle with the green check mark. What is that saying?
Professor, I guess about this red circle, I think the is kinds of paper is resume. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of papers. Resume is one of the papers you need to develop in class. Yes. Moon Tae-kyun, you're right next to her in my video link. Can you also guess what is my point? What am I trying to teach with this top left square? If I am the military general and you are a soldier and I'm telling you, this is the law, this is the rule, this is your job, what the heck am I saying? Is it clear to you?
So if students work about make a paper for company, then the company will hire you.
Okay, good. That's one part of it. The overall idea, anybody else wants to try to talk and get some bonus points? If not, I will continue, but I welcome you to get me to shut up anytime. The idea is every student, you usually go to class and you usually do a classwork. You usually do a class paper. But many bad managers or bad leaders, they only think small. They only think inside the class, inside your textbook, inside what you need to study this week. That's bad. You should think big, think bigger, think of the world and everything. So while you have to do a class paper, forget the university. What is a polite way to swear and say the university is not important? When you get older, like me, you're going to realize that you are most important for your life, not university. You're going to soon forget about university. So do your class paper for your future. So number one is do a class paper. But number two, step two, is do a paper for some organization you love, some company you want to work with. That's number two. Number three, do your class paper and try to publish it. Because if you can publish a paper or write a paper and just the teacher gives you marks and you put that on your resume, people are not going to ask, what was the mark you got in 2021 with Professor Sean Watts for this assignment? Nobody's going to ask that. It's not going to go on your resume. But if you do have a paper and it goes into a student newspaper or a magazine, you can put that publication in your resume. So you can write it and publish it in a journal and write it and publish it in your resume. That's number four. And at the same time, you know, there are trillion-dollar companies, and these trillion-dollar companies often pay students, especially in North America, just to do your classwork and learn about something new. So you can get paid to do your classwork. And that's called a grant. And so I am saying, look at the big picture. Don't wait. The bottom left with the picture of me as a sheep, that idea, don't wait as sheep. Don't wait as just boring students. Don't wait for life to start. Start living your life today. Control yourself today. Find out what's going on around you and ask questions. Why? Why are you doing this? Does this make sense? Or is it bullshit something? So make your class paper and make your class paper for a company. And hopefully it will help the company. And so don't wait with other people to get a job. Start interviewing the manager now. But actually, that's a little bit of a trick. Don't do it now because maybe you're not prepared yet. Lee Da-young and Lee Chang-hyun, you presented already in class. You got experience. So maybe you have more experience presenting than Chun Hae-rin or Im Min-gyu or other people. But you only have a little bit of experience. And we still don't know what you know about that company. So you should research that company first and present to us, get advice from us, get some marks or feedback, peer evaluation, ideas for change. And then after you get ideas how to be perfect, then in week 8, you can give a phone call or an email to the company you love and start presenting to them. Survey them, ask them questions, make your results to help them so you have a good relationship with them. So ultimately, in the top right square, you should be thinking all the time about your life dreams, your life goals, and how can you get them, and start every day doing something to get you closer to your dream. Kim Jisoo, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Can you summarize just a little bit about what I just said? I am teaching the art of war for you. And if I am the military general like Sun Tzu, what did I just tell you?
It's difficult for me to summarize, but
just pick one or two.
You explained us about grant, and that's the only thing I come up in my head. So
okay, that's a good start. Yes, Im Minkyu, can you summarize what is another one of my orders? What's another one of my commands for you guys? At the same time, Chun Hae-in and anybody in class, just summarize what I'm saying. I'm trying to make sure it's clear what you should do.
So normally, as you mentioned that students usually work for school's paper or other school's materials, but
That
you
sucks.
said you'd better to in this class you'd better to work on other like a large conglomerate company materials and other companies materials and make a journal or magazines and issue that, and company may be able to hire you
Yes,
or
absolutely.
or get some love call for you.
Absolutely. So if you look closely in the top left, you see the red circle. It's good to think of the red circle. That is the whole world. That's life. That's everything in life. But most students and most teachers, they only check on top of this green line. They only check on top. They do the hard work, not wise work. So I'm telling you, don't only do hard classwork. Do smart stuff. Do the classwork so it gives you maximum benefit. Do your paper for a company you want to work with. That's number one. And another one is if you do your classwork to help a multinational company like Google or Ford, they could pay you to do your classwork. So that is the big picture. And that will help your resume, help you get a job, help you get relationships with these employers. Absolutely. So hopefully I'm not going to be wasting too much more time on it, but it's clear. Let's go on to the next part. Now we're talking about, again, the art of war. And this video, it's interesting. 2,600 years ago in China, there was the emperor that was having problems with other people around him. And so he was famous for being very powerful, but getting many headaches from other people. So he asked who could help him. And this guy, Sun Tzu, he came and he said, I could teach you how to be successful. I can train anybody to help you. And so the emperor laughed, ha, ha, ha. You think you can train anybody? Well, right beside me, I have 10 different girlfriends. And do you think you could train these 10 girlfriends to be warriors? And he said, yes. And what this picture here is he said, I'm going to train you. I'm going to tell you what you need to learn. And then I'm going to teach you, help you learn it. But if you have difficulty, ask questions. If it's not clear, tell me it's not clear. And then you have to do it. And so he started teaching these people just like I'm teaching you. And he told these girlfriends how to start being a powerful soldier. And the girls just stood at the back and started laughing. Ha, I'm just a pretty girl, not a soldier. And so he said, okay, I'm going to tell you one more time. Do what I told you to do. He didn't tell them to present in week 4 or week 5 or week 6 or week 7. I did. But he told them, do it, and they didn't. So he got the manager of the ladies to come up and said, did you understand what I told you to do? And she said, yes, I'm supposed to do this. Will you do it? And she's, no, I don't think so. So he chopped off her head. He killed her. And everybody saw they're serious. So immediately, all other people started listening to him very carefully. I'm not going to chop off your head. I'm not going to kill any of you, but I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying is serious. So that's just an example. So the first thing, before we get into the art of war, we'll talk about what is more popular, the idea of guangxi. This is the most popular Chinese strategy. So what is that? There's 3 sociology or cultural concepts, sociocultural concepts in guangxi. There's special relationships between 2 people, and it binds them with favors. And usually it gives more benefit to the weaker person than to the stronger person. There's the la, or pulling guangxi. It efforts to establish and build up relationships with others where there's no pre-existing relationships between them, or where an existing relationship is not close enough to be useful. So another idea, these ideas are they're relationology, or specially connected individual or social organizations we need to think about, or the work unit we need to think about, or the web of connection networks. This is very important. The web of connections. You guys may think your relationship right now is just to your classmate or just to your teacher. Well, that is a misunderstanding. You have a relationship and a web of connections that includes what? Somebody give me an example. What about Chun Hedin? What are some examples of your relationships? What connections do you have? What networks do you have now?
Nothing.
Oh, wrong answer. Thank you for trying, but absolutely. Oh my gosh. Seriously, I don't accept that. You think you have no relationship to anybody. So you have no relationship to me? And you have no relationship to Moon Tae-kyun, no relationship to Kim Young, no relationship to your mom? Really? You live in a bubble? Let's try one more time. Give me an example of some connections you have.
You and me.
Good. That's number one. What's another one?
Me and my friend.
And what's another one? I'm going to ask for 1 million.
My parents and me.
Okay, now that is simple. What you're thinking about now is simple. Now, if we get more complex, you also understand that you are young, I think, and I am old, I know. And because I have been working for over 20 years with big companies and with teaching, I've worked with 128 different countries and many, many, many different universities and many different companies, even the United Nations and governments. So what does that mean?
Oh,
That
you have
means-
many
Keep going. Good.
relationship. Yeah.
Which, yes, exactly. I have many connections. And so because you are connected to me, you can use those relationships and connections also. Don't just come to class and just think of yourself in that small, I have no connections. Only go to class if you really want the benefit. So take the benefit from your textbook, of course. Take the benefit of what we're going to study this week, of course. But also take the benefit of all of the knowledge I have, all of the qualifications I have, all of the connections I have. Otherwise, you are a sheep. You're following blindly. You're not using your maximum potential. And there's more than 1,000 professors in this university. Because you pay the university, every professor works for you. You should be able to get benefit from any professor or anybody in this university, including all of your Sanbei, Hubei, the alumni that graduated 10 years ago, right? So make sure you think about that. That is part of the guangxi. Don't only think of yourself, think bigger. And anytime you have questions, please ask questions. So the idea of one's dignity, one's self-respect, one's prestige, that is very important. You must think about it, but don't let it stop you. In Korea, many people will stop asking questions. Many people will stop going up to talk to people because you think you don't have the dignity, or you're not respectful enough, or you're not prestigious enough. You think, I am too high in the hierarchy, so maybe you're not at my level. Stop that. You need to realize everybody on the planet is just human. And if you have a connection, you should be aware of that to your own benefit. Work mutually beneficially, not just on your own. So achieve harmony with many people. Protect your face, protect the other person's face, of course. So there's more dimensions like Lian and Miangzi. The idea of there's the humanized obligation. Other people are obliged, they're responsible to have a connection with you. So one of the commonly accepted social norms regulating Chinese or the world interpersonal relationships is based on this Confucian concept of reciprocity. If you don't understand what I'm saying, ask questions. Reciprocity means if you give something, the other person should also give something. So they should reciprocate. And there's the social exchange. Make sure that you keep the value, that's important, the rule of equity. So only social exchange, not for the economic exchange, but it's very important to maintain the guanxi. In Confucianism, there's differentiation on the social hierarchical order, and that's true in Korea also. But every year that goes by, and 2,600 years went by, more people are getting more and more equal. You should realize in Denmark and Sweden and Finland, Scandinavian countries, those countries are the most equal in the world. Rich billionaires and poor homeless people are considered equal. There's nobody better than anybody else in those countries. In China and Korea, it's still the old-fashioned thinking, but every year the world is moving towards equal thinking. So be aware of those details. The dynamic role of yourself. What I'm talking about here is that you have the freedom to control your relationships, how you like it. Don't close your eyes. Don't think I have no relations, no connections. Realize everyone around you is in a relationship with you. Has anybody heard the idea of 3 degrees of freedom? About 5 years ago, 10 years ago, many people were talking on Facebook and social media and the newspaper. They said everyone in the world is connected to each other in about 3 connections. So you can be connected to Bill Clinton, or you could be connected to the president of any company. For example, I have been connected with 128 countries. I have been connected with many presidents of countries and presidents of companies. You could use my connections. That's just one. And then the other person I could introduce you might be able to also help you and get you closer to almost anybody in the world you want to connect with. So it says everybody is connected through 3 connections, 3 degrees of freedom. Keep that in mind. So the 5 fundamental relationships made with guanxi are very complicated. One generally has a passive follower that's predetermined relationship and the initiator of the voluntary relationship. What we're talking about there is the idea of the king and the follower, or the president and the regular citizen, or the professor and the student, or the father and the child, or the brother and the brother, the sister and the sister. Those details here. So how do they build this up? There's a lot of research talking about this. The idea of Chinese actually build their personal relationship. There's a lot of research. I'm not going to get into too much of the details. We could talk about the attributes and the frames, but I want to make sure you are aware of the basic, because this week, I believe, who's it, Chun Bo-yun, you are going to be, are you the one that's presenting this week? Ina, who's the student that's presenting this week?
Yeah, it's Jung Bo Young and Park Young E, right?
Great. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Chun Bo-yun, you can use some of my stuff, use some of these videos, use some of these articles, and use that to teach. And you can also teach anything you want related to this topic. So I'm not going to go into all details. I'm just giving you the overall idea. The idea of you are connected with your family, kinship. You are connected with your geography, your locality. You're connected with your coworkers in the university or your job. You're connected with your classmates. You're connected with the student teacher. All of those are part of your network. And there's much more than that. That's just the beginning. So here is another video talking about the secrets to success in China. You can go through, you can watch this on your own. Maybe after we go through it, we can come back to this, or Chun Bo-yun, when she's teaching, she can talk more about this if you want. I'm just going to, get into the next part. The idea of rules are based on fairness. But be very careful. Although a lot of researchers say rules are based on fairness, there is generally no equality. So be careful. It's not based on you being equal to me. It's fair. If you do something for me, I should do something for you. And of course, you pay my salary, so I should do lots for you. Make sure you use that. And it can be a lot more complex, depending on the price, depending on what you do, depending on what you want, depending on when you want it. And there's also the emotional relationships. For example, if I'm sad and crying, maybe there's more value than just during a regular day. So the idea of the fairness is important. The idea of the price is important. The idea of the time or the emotions involved is important. All of those impact guangxi and your face value. So now that we've introduced the idea of guangxi, I've already gone through, and some of the students have already read and introduced the art of war. Let's start showing you. These are the details. So Sun Tzu, this idea of how to manage, was created 6th century BC, and it has been translated by many hundreds of people have translated what he wrote. Maybe I can make this a little bit more interesting here. Can you see my picture right now? This picture looks like many different chopsticks that are made of wood, and there's writing on them. You can see that? Chun Hedin, can you see my picture well enough to see there's many pieces of wood like chopsticks and there's writing on the wood? That is what Sun Tzu wrote on. He didn't have paper back then. He didn't have a ballpoint pen to write on back then. So they were writing in small pieces of wood, and his idea was written on 13 different pieces of wood. So there's 13 different things he was teaching, and these are some of the translations. So one researcher translated it this way. I think this guy sucks. This guy taught it a different way. This guy I like even more. And Chow Hao Wei, he also did it a little bit better than Lionel, but not as good as I think the translation of Mr. Wing, my wingman. And so what this says is the translation of chopstick number 1, the translation of strategy number 1 is talking about you need to understand how to lay plans, or you need to understand how to make calculations. You need to understand how to have a detailed assessment and planning. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about you're in your class, you need to do your class assignments to get grades, but that's just a small part. You need to look at the big picture, the detailed assessment and planning for everything in life. So, number 2, when you're going to wage war or when you're going to have the challenge, that idea is the challenge to grow and be more successful. You need to think about those things. Or the idea of the attack by stratagem, or what is your plan of attack? So what is my plan of attack? My plan of attack that I'm trying to make sure that you're aware of is these steps. This is your plan to get to your dream. If you don't have this written down, sucks to be you. You're going to have a very hard time managing your life. If you do write this down, it will be easier to get your dreams, get your goals. So start identifying what you need to do to get your goals. You should start by thinking your life goals. 20 years later or 10 years later, you want this. Then in half of the time, you need half of that to get to that level. Then in 5 years, you must do this. And in 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 week. Today, what do you need to do to get success? Those are the basic steps. And you also need to think about who can connect you, who is already here that can pull you up. What are some activities you can do to get to a higher level, to jump some steps, maybe take an elevator to a higher road? So that's what we're talking about, the idea of the strategies, the plan of attack, and then the idea of positioning. What we're talking about here is, what is your position? Let's say any student want to volunteer.
Professor,
Yes.
When are we doing our presentation?
I teach the first session each week, and students usually present in the second session each week. But if you want to go first, you can. However, you did not share your materials with all other students. So we just started sharing that today. So we'll give the class some information today to review. So you're ready. The classmates are ready to ask questions and interact with you on Friday. Understand? If students want to present on Wednesday, that's possible, but you must make sure your classmates gets your PPT or gets your information in advance. Understand?
Yes, Professor.
So the idea of your position, Mr. Park, what is your position? What do you think the positioning relates to you? We're talking about Sun Tzu, Art of War. When you're managing yourself, why should you care about your position? How are you positioning yourself? Guess. There's no wrong answer, just guess. You should try to understand all of these, and they're 2,600 years old, so any guess is okay to start with. All of them are connected. All of them are related. It's very easy to understand. Your position is very closely related to your illusion and the reality, or the illusion of life around you and the reality of life around you. Those are different. So, Jongik Park, can you how it relates to your life? Absolutely. Anybody else? Can you guess why do you think positioning is important?
We act that we decide, so we decide to positioning and we follow that. Yeah, so positioning is important, I think.
Yes. Okay, good. Keep going. What else? There's lots to it. This is so important and so deep. You should think about this a lot. And it's not only for Sun Tzu and Chinese soldiers 2,000 years ago. This is for you today. It's the most valuable. Wouldn't take you, or were you about to say something?
Yeah. Because it is a foundation of planning. Yeah.
Good. Can you explain a little bit more? What do you mean by that?
When you do something, when you get some planning, so you need to positioning. Where are you gonna do? We're gonna do something. Then you need to find your positioning or what you're gonna do. So yeah, it's basic and foundation to do something.
So again, as we were talking before, this whole, where is it here? This chart is obviously related to your position. Are you at the bottom position, or do you already have your dream position? And who is around you? Is this person connected to you? Is this person in a position to help you? Maybe you can use this person to get higher, or you can use this big person to get higher. This person can help you get closer to your position for your dream. So that's part of it. You are positioned, connected together with me, the professor, so you can use me to help you. That's part of the positioning. And if we look at let's bring this up a little bit more, since we talk a lot about this. So the next idea is directing. You need to understand how you direct yourself, how you direct the class, how you direct the people, the classmates around you. Yi Changhyun and Yi Dayoung, you guys actually positioned yourself as leaders last week. But you didn't get marks yet. Did you? Did the class give you marks? If you realize you are in a position to lead, great. but you also need to direct other people to give you those marks. That's the simple idea. The next idea, get the peer review, get marks for what you presented last week from the class. Everyone that presents should ask for those marks or record those marks and get peer review, classmate evaluation. But at the same time, the idea of direct other people. Who could you direct to help you? Some of you find English 힘들어 or 짜증나. And so if English is difficult, you could position yourself to work with the University Writing Center. They can help you do your presentation. Or you can get editors to help you edit your paper or your term project. That type of positioning, you can get that help. Or you could hire somebody from India that has good English to write. Those are all part of positioning and directing. Think about those things. What about the idea of illusion and reality? I'm just going to tell you, since I don't want to waste your time, I respect your time. Most people don't know the true reality around them. Most people just accept what other people say. That's why I make sure you talk a lot about referencing, or what is reliable Scopus journal articles versus other things that are not reliable. You must understand what is true or not true, like what is new, valuable news or what is fake news. There's lots and lots of garbage information out there. Donald Trump, just for a friendly, funny joke of an example, he mastered the idea of the illusion and reality. He pretended to the world he was the best and the smartest and the most powerful. But he pretended so well that everybody voted for him, even though other people might have been smarter or might have been kinder or more open-minded. So that idea of the illusion is very different than the reality. You have that issue also. Is it important what you look like in life? Any ideas about that? Does it matter that I have this beautiful hair or this beautiful suit today? Is that important?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain more?
I think the wearing the clothes is part of business. I think.
Wearing clothes is part of business. Okay, I have done business sometimes in my bathing suit, and I've done business sometimes in a suit. Yes, that's part of business. But the idea of what you look like, it does have an impact. For example, if you are attractive, it's easier to get other people to talk to you. Sometimes. Sometimes if you're too beautiful, people will avoid you because they might think they don't like that connection. And so just the idea of many people try to look beautiful or look professional or look smart, that idea is an illusion. The truth of your quality is usually inside your mind, number one, or inside your heart, number two. Those are more important than anything outside, right? So the outside is just one aspect of the illusion and the reality. If you have questions, ask questions. Next, the idea of engaging the force or the variation of management tactics. There's lots of details we're going to go through. The idea of how you move and how you develop people or train other people around you, the situational positioning, the 9 battlegrounds, the 9 environments, and the idea of use of intelligence or espionage or spying. There's many different things you should be thinking of to get to what you want. And so this is talking about to win. Let me just blow this up, make it bigger for you guys. The idea of to win 100 battles is not the most important. It's not the height of skill. Let your plans be as dark as night. Let them be secret. Then you strike like a thunderbolt. Or then we can talk about the weather and terrain and leadership, military strategies. Those are not the most important related to the moral influence. You should have moral influence. There's lots of details here we can talk about. All warfare is deception. So it's not just war, it's business, interactions. All interactions, all management, they say involves deception. You should be aware of those. Ask questions if you don't understand. I'm just going to go through a lot of information here. We've got 20 minutes left of class, lots to cover. So ask questions when something is important or interesting to you. Next, it is essential to seek out the enemy agents who have come to spy. And to move your enemy, entice him with something that he is certain to like. How can you move somebody? How can you motivate somebody? You need to find out what they like. Next, the way to a wise general can achieve greatness beyond ordinary men. It's through forehand knowledge. So basically, it's through research. So if I just take a couple of these and explain them, the idea of you want to get a job in a company, but the company has already hired everybody they need. So maybe you want to take somebody's job in that company. So if you want to do that, you can start doing a class project with that person and say you can give the class project to that person to give his company, to give his boss, to help him look good. So you are doing something, even though you may want his job, you are doing a project that he can get benefit from. Give him something he likes. And the idea of the way to achieve greatness is through knowledge, through research. Research that company you want to work for. Research the person you want a relationship with. Research the class. Research the professor. Research the person or the activity you want to connect with. Research them. Get your foreknowledge before you talk to them. That's why in our class, I tell you to do your research every week, find an article every week. So by week 7, you can present what you want to be a specialist and get feedback on how to do better. So in week 8, you already have the presentation, you already heard how to make it better, and then you can contact the company you want to work with. And week 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you can continue to develop a relationship with that company. You can continue to develop your report so that you can give it to them after we finish class and get your jobs. Next, the winning army realizes the conditions for victory first, then fights. So find out what is mutually beneficial. Find out your strategy first, then go to fight. Don't just start fighting. Don't just walk up to a company and say, give me a job, or I love your company, can I work here? That's actually really stupid. Don't walk up to a company and say, I want to work for you, can you take my resume? That's stupid. You have to understand what that person that can hire you wants and give it to them. So research that person, research that company, make a term project or make information, make your resume, show them you can help them. So you give them something even before you start talking. That is better. So again, those skilled in war bring the enemy to the field of battle. So the idea, if you want to get a job with a company, don't just go to a hiring interview. You realize you want to work for them maybe next year or 2 years, 3 years. Start contacting them and researching them now. Invite them to work with your group of researchers. I am a researcher working for you. I have lots of experience and lots of qualifications. We have 30 people in class that can do research and help you, and thousands of professors that might be able to help you. All of us are part of your team. We can help you as a team to prepare you to help get you a job in that company. So then you can use us to get a relationship with that company. Next, it's essential for victory that generals are unconstrained by their leaders. If you want to win, you need to realize you need to win, not me, not what your mom wants, not what your dad wants, not what your teacher says. you need to realize you are most important for you. So do what helps you and just take the advice from your mom, take the advice from your professor. Next, move only when you see an advantage and there is something to gain. So when the enemy occupies high ground, do not confront him. Next, there are some armies that should not be fought. Next, know your enemy and know yourself, and in 100 battles, you will never be in peril. So this picture on the left, that is the 13 different chopsticks, the 13 different Sun Tzu Art of War strategies to help you be successful in life, to help you be successful managing culture anywhere in the world. And originally it was made to be successful in China. So there's lots of details. If we go through, I could explain them in detail. It's in the PPT. The idea of detailed assessment and planning. So there's several strategies to understand. So this explores 5 fundamental factors: the methods, the timing, the environment, leadership, management, and several elements that define success. By thinking, assessing, and comparing these points, you can create a path to victory. If you go outside of that path, you will fail. Remember that business is a serious matter. People invest their life. The challenge explains how to understand the economy of war, or the economy of business, and how success requires making the winning play, which makes your costs for competition and conflict. Then you have number 3, the plan of attack. That defines the source of strength as unity, not size. You must understand how you're going to attack. What is your strategy? What are your alliances? What are your positions? What are your connections? Who is your army? Who is on your team? And who's around you? What are the cities or the groups around you? Positioning. It explains the importance of defending your position until you can advance and get to a higher level. You must recognize opportunities, not only just create a few. Always be aware of what is around you. Always be aware that although you have steps to get your dream, sometimes there's new opportunities that will pop up. Shockingly, I teach the same thing every year. And this class, what I'm teaching you, I've taught for almost 20 years. Who's the student in class that has contacted my students from last year or 2 years ago? Last year, I taught this exact same thing here at Kim Young University. And I taught it at a university in Vietnam. And I taught it at a university in England. And I taught it at the 26th best business school, management school in the world, in India. How many of you have asked to see what the other students did or what the other students have presented? So if you're going to be presenting or developing, you should grow from their benefits also, right? You usually think, oh, I have to do it on my own. Why? Because your mom said or your teacher said. Well, is that smart? Learn from other people. Manage your energy. Direct what is around you. Use that to your advantage. There's no law saying you can't use details that students did before. You can't cheat. You can reference them and make it better. That's perfectly ethical. There's weak points and strong points all around you. Illusion and reality explains how your opportunities come from openings in the environment caused by weaknesses of your enemy or weaknesses of the environment or opportunities in your environment. Make sure you understand how to maneuver, how to change, how to move, how to get people around you to work with you, how to work in a mutually beneficial way. Variations in tactics. You can change things all the time. Moving the people around you to work with you, like the students from last year, or the students from last class, or the students from 10 years ago, or the alumni that already graduated. You can move them to help you get a job. So there's lots of details here. Also understand the idea of spies. Make sure you understand you should always keep an eye out for opportunities. keep an eye out to who can help you. How can you grow? How can you get more information? The more information you have, the better the result you can get. So get people inside the company to help you make your class paper. You can start by talking to the guy in the parking lot, then start by talking to the person at the front door or the secretary, or eventually talk to many different people or alumni from your university and build up your details before you talk to the manager, before you talk to the director, so that you have a spy to help you win and look good. Next. All business warfare is based on confidence, and research. You need to know what's going on. Who has the most, let me ask the whole class. Jung Soyun, are you in class today? Maybe not. What about Jung Sungjin? Are you in class today?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Can you help identify that idea of who is most confident in our class?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking everyone in class, but nobody else is talking. So I'm picking you because you're at the bottom of the list right now and you're not confident enough to show your video. So yes, I'm asking you, Jung Sungjin, who do you guess is most confident in our group?
I think Moon Tae-gyun.
Good. I'm a little bit sad you didn't pick me. But yes, I agree. Moon Tae-gyun, he seems more confident than other people. Now let me ask you the same question, but with different words. Jung Sungjin, who do you think is going to be
Yes.
most successful in class? Is it the same person? Maybe? Do you
Maybe,
see
yeah.
that you don't know the reality, you don't know the results, but just based off of confidence, many people think that person will be most successful. So stop being shy, start talking, practice now with us so you can build your experience, build your confidence. I'm not going to kick your ass if you make a mistake in class. If you argue with me, I might give you bonus points because I want you to practice. The more you practice, the better you get, right? Jun Herin?
Yeah.
So are you going to talk more in class today and every class?
Oh, I'm trying, but it is hard to
Life
talk
is
more.
hard. Life is hard. Do you think your dream and your fantasy life is just going to come to you
I
floating
think
in the wind like a flower petal, or do you have to work hard to get your dream?
if I work more hard, if so, it is still hard to dreams come for me. Yeah.
Okay, so you think it's hard.
Yeah.
Please ask me many questions because I don't think it's that hard. But
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
going to get off topic, but if you ask a question, I will tell you. I've said many, many things today, and nobody asked me any questions yet. Please start asking questions. What about Kim Yunsa? How are you today? Yeah, welcome back. Do you think there is one person in class that is most confident? Who do you think is most confident or the second most confident in class? Are you most confident in class or is somebody else more confident in class?
Not me.
What does that mean to you? Do you agree that most ideas, the illusion is different than reality. I'm not saying I will do it. I'm saying the world usually decides based off of an illusion, based off of what somebody looks like or what the environment looks like, not the truth. So if I think you don't talk in class, or you don't have a video, or if I think you don't care about class, I might not care as much about you. If you talk a lot, if you care about class, I think you care about the topic. And so I will think you care about something. Even if you do a project and you make a mistake, if in the back of my mind, if in my heart, I think you care, will I say, oh, wrong? Or will I think, maybe it was just a small mistake. I'll give her the answer anyway, right? That's the way everybody works. It's based off of the illusion. It's based off of the confidence. So in this picture here, management is based on confidence, number one, research details, number two, and then the deception. Make sure you understand that, making people believe you are better than your competitors. If you want a job, you need to make sure people around you think you are better than the other job applicants. Success comes from your strategy, from your skill, from your study. We are born without anything. Your natural tendency and reaction to a challenge is to fight or flight, to fight or run away. These are inappropriate for life and management. You should be thinking of what is your strategy and what do you look like? What is your skill? What are you studying in order to be successful?